Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. It's Sunday. I want to try a new show this week, or a new series. I'm calling it Clearing the Bases, where I am clearing out my browser tabs of news items that were interesting but didn't quite fit the mold of a like 8 to 12 minute video, which is kind of my bread and butter. Now, I also talked earlier this year about wanting to do more shorts here on YouTube. I didn't enjoy it. And one thing I've always said is I am only going to do videos that I enjoy. Doesn't mean I'll never do shorts again if I find something that's like the perfect fit, but I find that it's just as much work for something that I don't enjoy as much. So no shorts, and um, yeah. So let's jump right in here. I'm gonna maybe in editing I'll put a little PTI style ticker on the side so you can see what's coming up for items. But if not, that's okay too because I don't need to overdo it here. All right, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go through all of my browser tabs that I've had open. Some of these have been open since like January, February, so they might be a little old. You're probably familiar with some of them, and that's okay too. First up, this was back in January. Original sealed copy of Pokemon Yellow, worth almost $10,500, has reportedly been ruined by U.S. Customs. This person, as you can see here, we're trying to go through customs, probably at the airport, maybe, and they had a sealed and graded original copy of Pokemon Yellow, and US Customs broke the acrylic case, ripped the discarded seal, and sliced the front of the box off, which makes it virtually worthless, as you can imagine. Now, I'm not a Pokemon guy, but I can see how this might be very frustrating. Next up, this Hasbro continues to destroy customer goodwill, and the stock could crash 29% as it dilutes the value of Magic the Gathering, Bank of America says. Now, again, I'm not a Magic the Gathering guy. I don't know anything about it. And really, no application here whatsoever to ultra modern baseball cards. Not sure why I had this open. All right. Next up from February, fake pro college sports memorabilia worth millions seized. South Carolina Secretary of State, let's pause this ad, says more than 600 fake championship rings for professional and collegiate sports were confiscated by law enforcement agents during a raid of a South Carolina memorabilia store. So, an actual store was creating fake championship rings to sell, probably costing them $1 or $2 each. The haul seized from Kirk's Collectibles had an estimated retail value of $15 million and included phony rings for the Super Bowl, NBA Finals, World Series, Stanley Cup, and NCAA sports. So I don't know if the store themselves, Kirk Collectibles, was creating them or if they knew that they were buying fake items, but pretty wild. Be careful what you're buying. Let's close these old ones here. All right, speaking of theft, man stole $185,000 in sports cards. Jason Liebold facing 5 counts of passing bad checks, fourth-degree felonies, as well as one third-degree felony. He agreed to provide sealed boxes of baseball, football, and basketball trading cards. The reported victim did. He was going to provide them to Liebold, and then he would sell investment stakes in each box. Does this mean breaks? And then open the box and distribute the cards to investors, according to a civil action. And then he provided Mama Tried sports cards. I'm not familiar with this company, with 8 checks totaling more than $118,000, but the checks bounced. Who is accepting checks for these things, you guys? After the owner of Mama Tried Sports Cards confronted Liebold about the returned checks, Liebold allegedly sent the man a photo of a deposit slip that showed the total amount he owed the other business, $185,000. Guys, don't accept checks when you're selling cards. I just don't. I don't know. Now, I'm not blaming this. I'm not trying to blame the victim here. Obviously, this guy's bad, which you just got to be careful. Next up, Nebraska man swindles sports card buyers. And I'm on a kick here with all these. See, these are things that I find interesting, but they just didn't. I couldn't see myself making a video out of them. He defrauded victims in a sports memorabilia cards scheme. He offered to sell Christopher Carlson, 25 years old, offered to sell collectible cards, but did not send the cards to buyers. This is in Missouri and California. They were coaxed into sending valuable cards to him on the premise of a trade, but say the traded cards never came. The buyer was out $4,400 after receiving a fake 1953 Topps Satchel Paige, a LeBron James Topps card, an '89 Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card, and a Nolan Ryan rookie card as well. They were easily identified as fake because they had blank backs, but the transition was made quickly, so the buyer did not have a chance to check the contents of the box. Let this be a lesson. Again, not blaming the victim. We need to just be very cautious when we're buying cards, especially expensive cards. If you're buying a $1 card, you don't need to be so cautious. But when you're spending $4,400, maybe that's not a lot of money to this person. That is a ton of money to me. Uh, Never received cards in return. So, yeah, just be careful. I found this fun. Ruth, rookie card and photo, 1968 Mantle, Gehrig bat among top sellers at Heritage. Look at this 68 Topps. Now, John Keating and I disagree about 68 Topps. He loves the burlap sack look of 68 Topps. I don't. I think it's one of the worst Topps designs of the 52 to 1980 series, even 1990. But still, a PSA 10 Mantle playing years card, pretty awesome. And then there's this 1916 Sporting News Babe Ruth SGC 7. What did that Mantle go for? The Mantle went for $500,000, and the last PSA 10 had sold for less than half of that. The Babe Ruth card went for $1.77 million. PSA 7 sold for 2.4 million. I actually highlighted this in a video at some point. Now I'm starting to remember this. And then this photograph went for $468,000. Jordan autographed card went for $210,000. It's unlicensed too. They had to take off Team USA apparently, even though it's an Olympic card, which is crazy. And then you can see it here. You can see USA in his jersey. So I guess they got a little bold there. All right, next up, another theft story. Plea deal and wire fraud case that scammed collectors out of $33,000. So what was the scam here? I was just reading about this again. So he made payments and then revoked them for cards to sellers and shipped empty boxes to buyers he met online. So he was using several online cash apps to make payments, and then he would revoke the transactions after receiving the cards or after confirming they'd been shipped by disputing the charges. Got to be careful. If you're using Instagram or Facebook to buy cards, buy from sellers with good vouchers from them. Careful out there. This one was pretty puzzling to me. Masters green jacket found in thrift store, sold at auction for nearly $140,000. Masters green jackets don't ever leave Augusta. Tiger Woods wins, or what's his name, John Rahm, won this year. He doesn't get to take that home. So how does this end up in a thrift store? And I thought about doing like an Attic Find Friday on something like this. The story wasn't very good though. It's just somebody found an item in a thrift store that shouldn't have been there. It was acquired for $5. It reportedly dates from the 1950s. So maybe they've tightened up on keeping them on site since the 1950s. Yeah, so. And then this one, fresh find, always makes me think, oh, this could be an Attic Find Friday, but it wasn't that good. It's just 1941 play ball cards set for auction, and it's amazing. These are PSA 10s on cards that are 80 years old, but there weren't any big ones. There's a PSA 9 on Bobby Doerr, so that's a good one. But I just thought that was pretty neat. When you find cards that are this says, if you've ever wondered what it was like when the wrapper came off a pack of 72-year-old baseball cards, you're about to find out. Um, except they're 82 years old, unless I'm doing the math wrong. That's okay. Rich, I'm sure Rich has the details right here. Um, yeah, so pretty cool stuff there. And then my wife sent me this one. She said, "Attic Find Friday." I'm not into cars either, but rare classic cards up for auction after huge 230 vehicle find. This would be a good Attic Find Friday if I knew anything about cars or there were more details to the story. This guy had bought a bunch of classic cars over the years, and he had lived frugally. In fact, he was living in the warehouse with the cards because he couldn't afford anywhere else. And then he needed the money, so he sold them, and now they're up for auction. Speaking of auctions, Air Jordan sell for a record $2.2 million as sports memorabilia booms. They're autographed, as you can see. It looks like each shoe is autographed. They were from the 1998 Last Dance NBA Finals season. Didn't fetch as much as some anticipated, only $2.2 million. So, yeah, very cool. And then a shirt worn by Diego Maradona when he scored the Hand of God goal against England. Set a memorabilia record last May. I did a video on that, or at least it was part of a video. Okay. Next up, another auction. Signed 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle. This is a dream card for me. It's a PSA 3, 10 on the auto, and it's up for auction now, or it was last week. I'm not sure when it was set to end, but bidding had topped $200,000 as of Tuesday afternoon. I really wish Rich does a great job, by the way, over on Sports Collectors Daily. I use his stuff a lot for information, and I really wish they would link to the auctions instead of making me go out. I know, make it easy on me, Rich. Bidding it topped over $200,000, and then there's this Jackie Robinson autograph as well. I don't love the vertical autograph, but that's fine. I would be happy to have it. It's a PSA authentic. And then you've got this Shoeless Joe original news service photo authenticated. These guys all looked 50 years old at the time. And I don't know how old he was in 1917. Was he 25, 30 years old? Baltimore Baseball Club. Danny Black would love this. Old Judge Harry Wright, SGC5. Very cool stuff. Man steals Pokemon. So he stole Pokemon cards on the job in the largest theft the game has ever seen. So this story is pretty wild. Again, I'm not into Pokemon. This is not my thing, but it's a collectible story that interested me. So he worked for a printer inside of, and I'm going to stop sharing for a minute here while I do this. He worked for a Pokemon company printing company. And when the hits were going by him, I guess, he was stealing the hits off of the manufacturing line. And somebody's going to comment, that's not possible. I don't know exactly how it happened, but this is how I imagine it. Uh, he stole the hits and then he brought all of them to a local game shop. Apparently, we have local card shops, they have local game shops. And he brought them into this card shop and he had a lot of them, way more than somebody should have from one set. And he had taken them all from one set. And they said, "Where did you get this?" And he told them, he admitted that he worked for a Pokemon manufacturing company, printing company. And so they called Pokemon and he got in a lot of trouble for it, as you might imagine. Let's share my screen again and we'll go back to the story. Um, so things escalated and the cards were recovered from the would-be seller and law enforcement is investigating them. Look at this. Stole the hits off the line and tried to offload them to a local game shop. Can I click on this and make it bigger? It's in Reddit. Uh, the seller explained his connection to the source in TCW, immediately contacted Pokemon through the proper channels. Stupid. And then Lionel Carter, 1952 Topps set. I want to do a video on Lionel Carter at some point. Look at him. Just looks like everybody's favorite grandfather. Um, I want to do a video on him at some point. This is huge. I don't know why this is so big, but he had this insane set of 1952 tops. It's up for auctions now. I mean, look at these PSA 9s and 10s. I don't know why that's so big. All right, and then in my bookmarks, I have a couple of things. This Babe Ruth bat was photo matched to a 1921 game, sold for $1.85 million. Pretty cool, pretty cool. And then this 1953 Bowman color Pee Wee Reese, which is very famous for the photo. They finally figured out who took the photograph. Name is David Peskin. So this is from 1953 Bowman color Twitter account, and I found out about it through post-war cards on Twitter, which is a great Twitter account. David Peskin is the photographer of that card, and they found other cards that or other magazines that the photo was on. And then Paul Lesko, I've interviewed Paul. I've talked about him a lot. He has a great meme thread about Panini's lawsuit or Fanatics. Yeah, Panini's lawsuit against Fanatics about stealing employees. It's a long thread, so I recommend going and looking through it all. I'm not going to show them all here. And then garbage. I'll probably do a video on Garbage Pail Kids at some point, but Mile High Cards sold Garbage Pail Kids lots this past week, and you can see here final price $16,800 and $15,200 for these Garbage Pail Kids. I had Garbage Pail Kids Series 2 as a kid. My friend had Series 1, and I stopped. I lost interest in them. It was the late 80s. So I just gave them all to him. I'm still in touch with him. I don't know, man. Anyway, this is Post-War Cards. Great, great account. And then we have another thing that I'm really interested in is vintage magazines. This Nintendo Power, issue number 1, just sold for $108,000 in a CGC 9.8, which I think is the highest, or maybe 10 is the highest. 9.8 is the second highest. I'm not quite familiar with the CGC magazine grading scale yet, but it's a pop 1, none higher. I had this magazine. I was a subscriber from the very beginning. I remember I had this magazine. I threw it away 20 years ago, recycled it with a lot of other stuff as I was moving out of my childhood home, and my mom was moving out of that home at the same time. Not that it would have been a 9.8 because I read that a lot, but it still would be awesome to have. I would love to have the first issue of Nintendo Power just to display it. So that's from CGC Sports Illustrated, another great account. I'm going to do a video on that. And then this, so Bones Highland, they have what appears to be a sticker autograph here, but the autograph goes onto the card. So it's like they put the sticker on the card and then he signed it from there. Or maybe, and let me know if I'm wrong. A lot of other people think it's wrong too. I think it's right. Those weren't stickers, it's the card design, somebody says over here. It looks bad. It looks like a sticker, and that's bad. I don't know why you would design your autograph space to look like a sticker when nobody likes the stickers. All right, here is my last one. Magic Johnson signed this card over the Dr. J card. Have I done a video on this? I feel like I did. Yeah, I see I did this. I commented over here. I'm sorry. Did Magic spell Magic wrong? Which he did. MAJIC. And he signed it on the Dr. J section. It's I mean, if you follow Magic Johnson on Twitter, you know he's an interesting guy, but that's pretty crazy. Signed his name wrong, and I know Magic isn't his real name, but it's a little weird. All right, so then first of all, before I get into a little channel update, I want to encourage you, put a comment in. What do you think about this series? Is this something you would watch every week? What's the most interesting topic here that you saw? And next up is a channel update. I have sponsorship offers for the last 3 or 4 months. Nothing, I do this, obviously I would love to have a sponsor. There's no doubt about that. I do this for fun, but if I can also get paid, that would be great. And I've had a bunch of companies come at me with sponsorship offers that either weren't reputable companies or they weren't companies that I want to do business with because they're not products I would ever use, or they don't have ideas that I'm interested in. But a company came to me this actually like a month ago with an idea for a video that they would pay me a significant amount of money for. And it was a company that I have done a video on before that I like. I like their platform. I use it. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So I've got that coming out in the next week or so. I hope you'll watch. I think it'll be fun. And then they came back to me before I even do the first video. They came back to me and said, "Hey, we'd also like to do this other video series with you." And the video series sounds interesting. Now, it's a type of video you see on Facebook or on YouTube a lot. And so I have an opportunity to do one of those, and I understand now why those people are doing them. It's fun. It's kind of this interesting idea, and they haven't come back to me with a proposal of how much they're willing to pay, but I said I'm willing to do it depending on pay. So they're going to come back to me in a couple weeks with a proposal and how it would work and things like that. And then they also said that they could be interested in sponsoring me long term, which would be great. Um, Yesterday's or Friday's Attic Find video went huge. I got 70 something subscribers on Friday, which was the second most ever. And then yesterday I got 122 subscribers, which is the most I've ever gotten on a video by far, by 45 subscribers. I also got my most views ever in a day, more than 10,000. So I'm ready. If I'm going to keep doing this, obviously, I think you guys enjoy it. And if somebody wants to pay me to do it as well, I'd be thrilled. I will not be sacrificing quality for pay. I will not be doing something I'm not interested in, or I talked to several companies where one company wanted me to promote their breaks, and I won't do that. I don't like breaks, and I can't be on my channel saying I don't like breaks and I don't do breaks, and then say you should do breaks because I'm paid to say that. I don't think that's not the way to maintain a good audience or relationship with my audience. So hope you enjoy upcoming stuff this week. I don't know what videos I have, kind of do it by feel, except on Saturday, I think I'm going to be going to the Shriners Auditorium for the Rich Altman show in Wilmington, Massachusetts. Oliver and I will go. I'll get a video out of that. I expect to get video from the show, which I don't usually do in Maine because it's a really small, intimate show, and that's not really, it's kind of frowned upon there. All right. Thanks very much for watching. If you're new here, click that subscribe button, and I'll have, if you guys like it, I'll do another one next week.